Imagine this. You are looking at Earth from space, and suddenly there are no oceans anymore. No Atlantic, no Pacific, no waves, no storms. Only vast, empty depressions and the exposed bottom of the planet. What would happen to the climate, life, and humanity itself? Earth no longer looks blue. Satellites record the impossible. All the oceans have disappeared. Where water existed just yesterday, there are now gigantic voids and the bare planetary floor. No Atlantic, no Pacific Ocean. The water has simply ceased to exist. Coastlines lose all meaning. The continents seem to have pulled apart, exposing ancient canyons and underwater ridges. The deepest points on Earth are now open to the sky, but above them hangs a dusty haze. There is no sound of waves, no tides, no storms. The planet sinks into an ominous silence. Chaos begins in coastal cities. Ships lie on their sides, ports turn into graveyards of metal, and people stare in panic at the horizon where there is no longer water, but a lifeless emptiness. The air becomes dry and heavy, and temperatures begin to change sharply. Scientists understand the oceans were not just water. They regulated the climate, supported the atmosphere, and sustained life on the planet. Their disappearance is not a one-day catastrophe, but the beginning of the end of the familiar world.
The disappearance of the oceans cannot be explained by ordinary natural processes. The water could not have simply evaporated. This would have required temperatures at which the atmosphere itself would no longer exist. It could not have frozen either. Even an ice-covered Earth would still retain enormous masses of ice. This means that something has occurred that lies beyond the boundaries of conventional physics. The oceans contained 97% of all the planet's water, trillions of tons of matter that shaped climate and atmospheric pressure. If all this water has vanished, Earth has lost one of its fundamental elements. The atmosphere reacts instantly. Humidity drops, gas balance is disrupted, and the air becomes dry and unstable. Scientists put forward frightening hypotheses. Perhaps the water was destroyed at the molecular level, or somehow left the planet, carried off into space. In any case, the result is the same. The water cycle has ceased. There is no evaporation, no clouds, no precipitation. A planet that existed for billions of years thanks to water suddenly loses it completely. And at this very moment, it becomes clear this is not a temporary anomaly, but an irreversible event that triggers a chain of global catastrophes.
The oceans were always Earth's main thermal regulator. They accumulated heat during the day in summer, then slowly released it at night and in winter, smoothing temperature extremes. With their disappearance, this mechanism breaks down within hours. The planet loses its ability to retain heat, and the climate to which life adapted for billions of years ceases to exist. During the day, Earth's surface begins to heat up rapidly. Without the enormous water masses that once absorbed solar energy, land overheats to extreme levels. In some regions, temperatures rise so high that asphalt melts and stones crack from the heat. At night, the opposite occurs. Heat is no longer retained, and temperatures plunge sharply. Continents become covered in frost, even in places where snow was never seen before. Daily temperature swings can reach dozens of degrees. Ocean currents disappear. The Gulf Stream, Kuroshio, and other systems that redistributed heat across the planet. Europe cools rapidly. The tropics turn into scorched deserts, and familiar climate zones are erased. There is no longer a temperate climate, only extremes remain. At the same time, the water cycle collapses. Without oceans, evaporation does not occur, clouds do not form, and rainfall stops. The atmosphere becomes dry and dusty. Winds lift particles from the exposed ocean floor, causing global dust storms that can last for months. The sun is increasingly hidden behind a murky hue, giving the sky a dull, sickly hue. Climate ceases to be a system, it turns into chaos. Predicting weather becomes impossible, and stable conditions for life disappear. Earth no longer functions as a single organism. It begins to resemble a dead planet, where every day becomes a test for even the most resilient forms of life. When the oceans disappeared, most people thought the main problem would be water and climate. But the true catastrophe unfolds quietly, right in the air. Earth begins to lose oxygen. About 70% of the planet's oxygen was produced by the oceans, by microscopic algae and phytoplankton. These tiny organisms, invisible to the naked eye, were the true lungs of Earth. Every human breath is the result of their work. With the disappearance of the oceans, they die instantly, and the process of oxygen production nearly stops. At first, the changes seem insignificant. Instruments detect only a slight decrease in oxygen concentration. People feel nothing. But years later, the atmosphere begins to change, slowly yet relentlessly. Breathing becomes harder. Physical exertion causes shortness of breath. Dizziness becomes more frequent, and endurance declines. Children, the elderly, and animals suffer first. Plants try to compensate for the loss, but their capabilities are insufficient. Forests and fields cannot replace oceanic plankton. Moreover, due to the destroyed climate and lack of rainfall, plants themselves begin to die off en masse, creating a vicious circle. The fewer plants there are, the less oxygen remains. The less oxygen there is, the faster life dies. The atmosphere gradually thins and loses stability. Gas ratios change. Carbon dioxide and dust increase. The sky becomes murky and the air dry and aggressive. In high-altitude regions, the already thin air becomes deadly. People are forced to abandon entire regions. After hundreds of years, Earth begins to resemble its distant past, the era before complex life appeared. Oxygen, which once made animals and humans possible, becomes a rare resource again. The planet slowly suffocates, and this process can no longer be stopped.
The disappearance of the oceans triggers the largest wave of extinction in Earth's history. It does not develop instantly, but its speed is terrifying. First, life directly connected to the seas dies. Within hours, fish, mollusks, corals, whales, entire worlds that existed for hundreds of millions of years cease to exist with no chance of rescue. The ocean, which was the cradle of life, becomes its grave. But the catastrophe does not stop there. Next, terrestrial ecosystems collapse. Birds lose food sources and migration routes. Coastal ecosystems disappear completely, along with billions of organisms, from plankton to predators. Insects dependent on humidity and plants begin to die off en masse, destroying pollination and plant nutrition. Plant life cannot withstand the altered climate. Without rain, with sharp temperature swings and dust storms, forests die one after another. Tropical jungles turn into dry, lifeless spaces. Even the most resilient plants cannot adapt fast enough. With the disappearance of plants, the foundation of food chains collapses. Animals deprived of food and water begin to migrate, but there is no salvation. Competition for resources becomes brutal. Ecosystems cease to exist as systems. Large mammals die out first, followed by smaller species. the planet's biological diversity shrinks rapidly. After several thousand years, only isolated forms of life remain on Earth, those capable of existing under extreme conditions: bacteria, primitive organisms, and possibly some underground species. What was once called a living planet turns into an almost lifeless world. A mass extinction surpassing all known catastrophes of the past becomes Earth's new reality. Humanity does not disappear on the first day, but humans are among the first to realize the scale of what is happening. Civilization, built on a stable climate, water, and energy, begins to collapse almost immediately after the oceans vanish. Everything once considered strong and reliable turns out to be fragile. Coastal cities, where a significant portion of the planet's population lives, lose all meaning. Ports, power plants, factories, cooling systems, everything was designed around proximity to water. Infrastructure fails, power grids collapse, and logistics break down. International trade practically ceases, since maritime routes no longer exist. Agriculture is threatened. Without rain, with a destroyed climate and a shortage of fresh water, crops fail. Global famine begins. Governments introduce emergency measures, but resources are insufficient. Millions of people are forced to leave their homes in search of habitable regions, leading to massive migrations and conflicts. Technology no longer saves the situation. Energy systems are overloaded, fuel production is disrupted, and high-tech industries degrade due to lack of resources and personnel. The internet, satellite communications, and navigation systems gradually fail. The world loses global connectivity. Society fragments. States either collapse or turn into isolated enclaves struggling to survive. Scientific knowledge is only partially preserved, and education becomes a luxury. Humanity regresses to the level of local communities, where every day is a struggle for water, food, and oxygen. After several generations, human civilization ceases to exist in its familiar form. Only scattered groups of survivors remain, living among the ruins of the old world, not as masters of the planet, but as temporary guests on a dying Earth.
Earth without oceans looks terrifying and unfamiliar, as if it is no longer the planet where life was born. From orbit, it is no longer blue, but dull brown and gray. Vast depressions where oceans once lay cut through the planet's surface, making continents resemble islands stranded in endless emptiness. The exposed ocean floor reveals what had been hidden for millions of years: giant faults, deep canyons stretching thousands of kilometers, frozen lava fields, and mid-ocean ridges form a landscape that seems alien and hostile. The deepest points on Earth now lie under open sky, where pressure and temperature make existence nearly impossible. The surface of the seabed changes rapidly. Without water holding sedimentary rocks in place, erosion begins. Wind, now the planet's main sculptor, spreads dust and salt across vast distances. Former oceans turn into salt deserts, blindingly white by day and icy cold at night. Dust storms engulf entire continents, sometimes merging into global tempests. Coastlines, once centers of life and civilization, look like cliffs leading into lifeless abysses. Coral reefs turn into dead limestone skeletons, and the seabed, stripped of water, rapidly cracks under temperature extremes. Rivers gradually disappear as they have nowhere left to flow. Lakes dry up, leaving behind cracked soil. Even mountains look different. Without clouds and precipitation, their slopes become bare and scorched. Earth increasingly resembles Mars, a dry, cold, hostile planet. But unlike Mars, this is a world of ruins, a planet that once was alive but lost its greatest treasure.
and every landscape seems to remind us that life here was once possible, long ago.
After the oceans disappear, the question of life's survival becomes central. At first glance, it seems that without water, any form of existence is impossible. But nature is remarkably adaptable. Life on Earth has survived under the most extreme conditions, and even now, when the planet has lost its largest water reserves, some possibilities remain. The first adaptive refuges become deep caves and underground systems. Residual moisture remains there, and temperatures are more stable than on the surface, where scorching heat alternates with freezing nights. Underground, bacteria, fungi, insects, and small animals may survive, feeding on slowly decomposing organic matter. Another possible option is geothermal zones and hot springs. Such places create local oases of life. Water, heat, and minerals allow simple organisms, and possibly more complex ones, to exist. These islands of life will be extremely limited, but they offer a chance for the biosphere to persist, at least on a minimal scale. From an evolutionary perspective, the survival of new life forms will require radical adaptation. Organisms will have to endure extreme temperatures, oxygen deficiency, increased radiation, and constant water scarcity. Species once dependent on oceans will simply disappear. Life will have to start almost from scratch. Even plants deprived of rain and oceanic moisture could exist only in the harshest niches, perhaps near underground aquifers or in special craters with residual moisture. All life becomes rare, localized, and fragile. Thus, life can theoretically survive, but it will be primitive, fragmented, and severely limited. Earth will transform from a biologically rich world into something resembling a survival laboratory, isolated living islands amid dust and desert, where life persists but will never return to its former diversity. This world will no longer be a home, but a temporary refuge for the most resilient forms of life.
When the oceans disappeared, humanity faced an almost impossible task: restoring the lost water and returning life to the planet. At first glance, it might seem that a solution exists. Simply find a source of water and fill the gigantic depressions. But the scale of the catastrophe is staggering. The Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, and other oceans together contained trillions of tons of water. To restore them, one would need to deliver to the planet an amount of water equivalent to billions of cubic kilometers, more than all of Earth's water resources and even those of nearby cosmic sources could provide. Even if we imagine that water somehow returns, the climate and atmosphere have already changed irreversibly. Ocean currents are gone, surface temperatures fluctuate between extreme daytime heat and deadly nighttime cold, and humidity is absent. Water would instantly evaporate under such conditions or freeze in polar regions. Moreover, plankton, the primary producer of oxygen, has perished, meaning the atmosphere can no longer support life as it once did. More fantastic hypotheses are also considered: bringing water from other planets or comets, creating artificial oceans using technologies capable of retaining liquid and sustaining ecosystems. But this would require resources exceeding the capabilities of all modern civilization, and the time needed to stabilize the planet would be measured in thousands or millions of years. Even if water could somehow be returned to the basins, the world would never be the same. The biosphere is destroyed, the climate unstable, most species extinct, ecosystems shattered. The planet would become an experiment where water is merely an imitation of life, not its true source. Thus, restoring the oceans is an almost impossible task, achievable only at the level of science fiction or a hypothetical super-civilization.
Earth without oceans shows us the fragility of all life. Water is not just a liquid, it is the heart of the planet. Without it, attempts to return the world to its former state are doomed to fail. Even colossal technologies cannot recreate the lost richness and balance of nature destroyed in a single moment.
When all of Earth's oceans disappeared, it became clear that the planet would never be the same. This is not just the loss of water, it is the collapse of the entire ecosystem, climate, and civilization. Humanity stands on the brink of extinction, left without a familiar environment, without a stable climate, and without the oxygen source that once sustained all planetary life. The world has turned into a chain of extreme conditions: scorched deserts where tropics once thrived, freezing nights where warmth once reigned, dust storms and fractures where oceans once roared. Without water, ocean currents that regulated temperature vanish, plankton that produced oxygen dies, and the atmosphere gradually thins. Familiar life forms disappear one by one: fish, birds, land animals, plants. Humanity is forced to live among the ruins of its civilization, surviving locally in underground shelters or near rare water sources. The world becomes fragmented and hostile, where every drop of resource is priceless. Even fantastical technologies cannot fully restore what was lost. Trillions of tons of water, biological diversity, a stable climate and atmosphere, all are gone forever. Any attempt to restore the planet faces incomprehensible challenges. Water will evaporate or freeze, oxygen will remain scarce, and life will never return to its former abundance. The oceans were not just water, they were the heart of the planet, its breathing, and the foundation of all life. Their disappearance is a lesson in the fragility of ecosystems and humanity's dependence on natural processes. Earth without oceans is a dead planet, where life is possible only in tiny refuges, where organisms cling to existence on the edge of the impossible. The main conclusion is obvious. To protect the oceans means to preserve life itself. Their loss instantly turns the blue planet into a scorched, barren, and cold shell, deprived of everything we value and know. Oceans are not just water, they are the foundation of all living things, and if we lose them, we will have to watch our world slowly die with no chance of return. Life on Earth is impossible without oceans. This is a fact that cannot be ignored. Every tide, every wave, every ocean current is part of the planet's breathing. Preserving them is not a choice, but a necessity, without which humanity is doomed to survive in a desert where everything familiar has disappeared forever.